Hi, welcome to another episode of the Peel Good Podcast. I'm Jennifer Nilsson, partner and managing director at Clementine Creative Agency, and I'm here today with Caroline Johns, who's social media manager. Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Jennifer.
Thanks for joining me today. I think we're going to talk about social media specifically for B2B market.
Yes.
So B2B, obviously, we're talking about business-to-business marketing. So we're talking about using social media channels to promote products or services to business clients, which is, like what we do here at Clementine. What a lot of companies do, software companies, things like that are kind of typical examples of B2B that you think of. But when we talk about social media, a lot of people think more about the B2C, the business to consumer, right? Mm-hmm. Direct sales, e-commerce type of stuff.
Right.
So I think sometimes social media for B2B gets a little bit overlooked, even though it's really important. And I think a lot more of B2B sales is moving into that digital world. So I wanted to spend a little time thinking about B2B and how brands are really using social media channels. A lot of research shows that most of the big B2B brands are really using social media as a big part of their marketing mix and seeing results in that space. But it's definitely a little bit different than B2C, right? You have to have a different strategy. You're looking at different target markets. You're trying to reach business owners or really specific decision makers. So maybe some of the same channels, but a different format or a different target, more educational type of content, things like that. So maybe we begin at the beginning and talk about, what are kind of the most popular channels from a social media perspective for B2B?
Right. So obviously, number one, first one that comes to mind is LinkedIn. It's the ranking in number one for B2B. And also recent research states that 96% of B2B marketers are on that platform. And then 89% use it directly for lead generation. So if you're B2B, LinkedIn is so important to be on. It's also such a professionally focused platform.
Yeah.
With also the addition of paid media. I think B2B marketers really they hone in more on reaching those decision makers.
Yeah.
And within the ad platform of LinkedIn, you have that option to target specifically maybe job level, type, status, or industry. There's just so many specifics that you can get into the nitty gritty on that platform.
Right, because you can find people that are director level and above, or people that are specifically IT or whatever it is you may be looking for.
Right, exactly. So, paid media is great on LinkedIn. Second, I think Twitter is, it's so popular, and right now there's kind of a little iffiness about it, but
a little,
yeah, but it's still a popular app within the B2B realm, just to build awareness and sharing that educational content. It's more, I like to think of it as snackable little post, and it's great for B2B because when you have a blog post or you have more of a text written subject that you're trying to get out there, you can write just a really short character limit or whatever, and then put a link to the blog post or video or something that you're trying to promote. And last but not least, obviously Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is the largest pool of audience potential that's out
everywhere,
there.
right? You can't ignore it.
Right. So, and also Facebook has the option for paid as well. So it's great for B2B, but specifically, I think, because it has such a large audience pool, that's why it's huge for B2B. And everyone's on it. And then Instagram also can play a role. I think Instagram is more, it's also about meeting your audience where they are. So that's where Instagram comes into play because if you're more of a architectural or design industry, that's where you want to be is Instagram.
Yeah, because there's big communities for those types of interests on Instagram. That's where those people are spending their time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think another one that gets left off or pushed to the side a lot is YouTube. People don't tend to think of that as a social media platform, and it's a huge search engine, social media platform that's out there, and it's so powerful, especially for B2B, when you should be doing video content for your brand. It's imperative to be on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. You talk about channels and really you have to kind of start with strategy, right? When you start to talk about which channels should you pick. And in terms of creating a B2B social media strategy, I think in a lot of ways that's going to be very similar to any strategy, right? You're going to start by trying to define your goals and objectives. But B2B typically kind of has some different goals maybe than a B2C. It's usually focused on longer term goals, sort of nurturing relationships, more like what you would think of as top of the funnel kind of stuff. So, common goals for B2B strategies are like building brand awareness, building your credibility, educating your audience about your product or your service or whatever the problem is that you can solve. Also, I think, building email lists or subscriber lists for people who want to get more from you in the future. One of the things about B2B marketing, I think that's interesting is we talk a lot about, getting on the ad platform and like finding all the C-level executives, and those are the people that we want to target. But there's really an opportunity to interact with people at sort of all levels of their career, because those are the people that are going to sort of build rapport with your brand now, and they're going to move up in the ranks and move into those decision maker slots down the line. And so you have the ability to sort of nurture that funnel, longer term, as you kind of set up those objectives,
Exactly. And so once you know what your objectives are that you're trying to achieve, which are so important, you can then identify the best areas of opportunities that are out there for your brand. To make the biggest impact with your audience against like on all the different platforms, because they're so different. I think another thing is like crafting content that works for your brand and also works for and with the platform. I feel like the biggest hesitation for a lot of B2B companies are they don't know how to adapt their content to fit the platform, or like they don't know how to take a white paper or a blog post and make it creative and make it into a graphic or something. Yeah,
I think there's this misconception that like if it's B2B content or it's educational content, it's like automatically boring and dry.
Exactly. And it's not.
And it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't at all. And that like it really couldn't be farther from the truth, because anything can excel in the world of social media. Anything and anyone. I think that's really the cause of frustration for a lot of B2B companies. But talking about like white papers, there's so many ways that you can make that compelling, like put some of that information into an infographic, or really make that messaging and the content like a snackable content graphic, and then direct them back to the website or the blog post. And also short form videos, like talking about YouTube. It's so important because it also puts a face to the brand, and that just will sell and make your brand excel. A recent study suggests 71% of marketing, they use video for their content. So really for B2B marketers to maximize their content, video is great. And I think also some people are hesitant to do video because they think, oh, well, I can't, like, the editing is just, it's a lot. But, there's so many features within apps that you can use, like Instagram Reels, stories, or just shoot a video. It doesn't have to have transitions or titles or anything. Because you're just getting your face out there. So people see you as trustworthy. And authentic, which is...
Yeah, I was going to say that's that value of authenticity, right? Like seeing someone as a real person, or seeing the people that are behind a brand kind of bring it to life.
Yeah, exactly. And Canva is also a great tool that people can use. Here at Clementine, as a B2B brand ourselves, we love putting our faces out there so we can humanize who we are as a company. And therefore, that's why video is so important, and it's such a highly recommended tool for business to utilize. And then talking about like linking back to your website, if it's just like a really short caption that you have, like always make sure that you're linking back to support your content, or like linking back to the full white paper if you're just taking little snippets out.
Yeah, and that gives you that opportunity to like build traffic to the website too. So, to kind of get people to the next step in that funnel, hopefully.
Exactly. Yeah. And another good and really cool and creative tool that people can utilize is animation for content, because it can take something to like 10 levels out, because it's just so fun and creative, and it just amplifies mundane content. I think, another thing to think about as a B2B brand is customer service, which a lot of people don't think about when they think about social media. But it's community management. Like it's a huge part of social media, and thinking about, responding to people's comments, like all of that stuff is public. Yeah. And if you have a potential client or a prospect, that they're going to look at like your social media channels and look at how you respond and engage with your current clients. It almost serves as a positive review, like a Google review or something.
Right.
But it's real life work and content that they can look at and see.
Yeah, you see that a lot in like with tech brands and things like that. So you think about some of the big kind of enterprise level, Slack or Teams or like productivity tools and things like that. That's a lot of what they do. Historically on Twitter, although I know that's moving around a little bit now, but a lot of what they do is people, that can send them a message and go, hey, how do I do this? Or where do I find this? Or, things like that. And they're sort of responding to people in real time. And then you're just building this sort of body of proof for customer service and support.
Exactly. And last but certainly not least, I think people need to also make sure within their strategy that they're properly identifying what metrics that they want to actually measure. You can push content out all day long, but if you haven't identified those goals and objectives, you really don't know what box to check that you've accomplished. So tracking those efforts and managing that and refining it continuously is so important. Because if you're not measuring it, you don't know how your content is working for you or if it's working against you.
Yeah. And this is something we talk about with clients all the time, right? Because we see so many people that are like, yeah, I do social media, but like they've never looked at the analytics. They don't know where the analytics are. They don't, they're not tracking if it's driving traffic back to the website. So those things are so important for you to understand if you're actually making progress towards those goals.
Right.
Right. Well, I think, the other thing about measuring metrics is it does kind of tell you more about your content that you're putting out there and what types of content is resonating with your audience, right? Whether that's they love video or whether there's certain topics that people gravitate to more than others. And that can kind of help you understand like the audience that you're reaching and where the needs are and what kind of information and services they may actually be looking for.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think, all of that is to say that social media actually is a really important channel for B2B marketers, and it's getting more important every day as B2B becomes more and more digitally focused. So, if you haven't already, any B2B brand out there should be starting to look at social media and start building that awareness now,
Definitely.
No time like the present.
Nope.
Any other words of wisdom for the B2B brands out there?
I would just say, just don't be afraid to change up your content and your creative level of thinking, because anything can excel on social media. So test and try different things.
Yeah. Just be creative. We love that, right?
Exactly.
Well, thanks for chatting with me today, Caroline.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for enjoying another episode of the Feel Good podcast. If you'd like to hear more or get more tips and tricks, follow us at Clementine Creative Agency or check out our website at clementinecreativeagency.com.